Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and it is indeed an honor to speak on Bill C-19, the bill to eliminate the long gun registry. I too would like to add my thanks to the member for Yorkton Melville for his years of work on this file, as well as the member for Portage Lisgar for her terrific work on this file. My colleagues have spoken on this side of the House have spoken very well on the legal, law enforcement, and financial downsides of the long gun registry. And I would like to add a slightly different perspective, that of a hunter. I represent a vast and beautiful rural constituency in western Manitoba. Farmers, ranchers, loggers, hunters, outfitters, anglers, and trappers are many of my constituents. It's a beautiful place with abundant wildlife, and like many of my constituents, I am a hunter. Hunting is part of my culture and a way of life, as it is for most of my constituents. And interestingly, almost all the homes in my constituency have one or more firearms, yet the crime rate is very, very low. Why is that? Because where I live, we have a culture of respect, a respect for each other, our community, and the land that sustains us. In fact, one could call it a peaceable kingdom. And that's why I found the words from the member for Lac St. Louis somewhat offensive when he automatically assumed that people that had firearms were automatically suspect, or at least that's how I heard it. My constituents are honest.
Order. The honourable member for Lac St. Louis is rising on point of order.
I never suggested that for 1 minute. As a matter of fact, I argued the opposite. I argued the opposite, that gun owners are law-abiding and they are sterling citizens.
Resuming debate.
Are honest country people who work hard and play by the rules. And this is why we find the long gun registry so egregious and so offensive. So when gun crimes are committed in far-off big cities, who gets punished? We do. And regarding the parties opposite, they make a great show of their support for the working people and the quote-unquote the common man. I'm particularly reminded of the old NDP versus the new NDP. The old NDP actually had a modicum of respect for the people that live on the land, work hard, and play by the rules. I'm thinking of their former leader, Audrey McLaughlin, who was very strong, who I, as I read some of the Hansard from years back, had some serious doubts about the long gun registry. But all the parties opposite, they've evolved into the parties of big government elites and union bosses who strive to expand government control over the lives of these same working people that they purport to support. I'm especially puzzled at the support for the long gun registry by Liberal and NDP members from Newfoundland, Labrador, and the Maritimes, where they have such grand hunting traditions. The seal hunt in Newfoundland, moose hunting, bird hunting, and all of that. I've even traveled to Newfoundland myself and enjoyed a particular local delicacy called bottled moose. And those from Newfoundland know exactly what I'm talking about. So for those of us who represent rural constituencies, and my constituents in particular, I think I would call our innate country common sense tells us that punishing law-abiding gun owners is simply not right. Firearms to us and my people in my constituency, they're a tool, like a chainsaw or a tractor. And obviously, they must be used with care. But as freedom-loving Canadians, we, and I mean people in my constituency, we view firearms ownership as a symbol of our Canadian citizenship, or of the trust that should exist between the people and their government. I'm reminded of what George Orwell said many, many years ago, perhaps at a different time, and perhaps it doesn't quite apply to us here, but I think it has some wisdom in it. Orwell talked about he was commenting on firearms ownership by ordinary British citizens. And he said, quote, "That rifle on the wall of the crofter's cottage or the working class flat is a symbol of democracy. It is our job to see that it stays there." Most firearms in Canada are owned for the purpose of hunting. And for many of us who grew up hunting, hunting is a sacred activity that is often difficult to describe, So I will quote the eminent evolutionary psychologist Randall Eaton, who said of boys in particular in his book, From Boys to Men of Heart, Hunting as a Rite of Passage, quote, "The instinct to hunt awakens spontaneously in boys, but the taking of life opens the heart and tempers that instinct with compassion. If we want to transform boys into men who respect life and are responsible to society and the environment, we need to mentor them in hunting as a rite of passage." And he further notes, the hunt is the ideal way to teach universal values, including generosity, patience, courage, fortitude, and humility. I know others may not agree with that, but I'm describing a true, honest, and active culture in this country that is very, very important. Members opposite may laugh, but to many of us, and me in particular, this is very important to us. I used to be the hunting columnist for the Winnipeg Free Press, and I remember interviewing a young man who had just taken his very first deer. And in his own words to me, he said, "Even though it was just a doe, that deer was better than any fantasy I've ever had. And it was even better because my dad was there with me every second, and I could share my excitement with him." I could no longer understand how people could be against hunting since it was now something so dear to me, and it is a passion that I can share with my dad and will definitely share with my children when the time comes. And what happens as well is that hunting and the relationship with wildlife and the land often develops into people who have careers in conservation, myself included. I caught my first fish when I was 4 and got my first rough grouse when I was 14, and I've had a wonderful 35-year career in conservation that started there. These experiences with my dad, they affected me very profoundly. And in fact, when I talk about hunting and conservation, there's a vast array of grassroots conservation activities in my own constituency. And the thing is, why I went on at some length about hunting is that without firearms, you cannot have hunting. What the Long Gun Registry actually is an attack on a culture and a way of life. Simply, it's also an attack on an innocent, productive, and wonderful way of life. Bill C-19 represents a real and tangible victory. The bill to get rid of the Long Gun Registry represents a real and tangible victory for those who cherish the particular way of life that I have described. It's a way of life that understands where our food comes from, reveres nature, values hard work, and family traditions. And quite simply, Mr. Speaker, this culture makes our country what it is. How much time do we have left? 2 minutes? My constituents have told me over and over and over again in both the campaigns I've been in the last year about how important the Long Gun Registry is. Of course, in my constituency, we have many issues that deal with agriculture, healthcare, rail service, and so on and so on. But the Long Gun Registry came up as a particularly egregious affront to the innate country common sense that is represented by my constituents. The communities in my constituency have a very deep and profound relationship with the land. And they're confident people who work hard and, as I said, value the fact that they play by the rules. Working hard and playing by the rules. And in fact, Mr. Speaker, those are the people in this country who we should be rewarding. People who work hard and play by the rules. Quite frankly, for me as an MP, those people are my top priority. And they, in my view, because many of them are employed in the natural resources industry of farming, ranching, mining, energy production, and so on, we know the importance of the natural resource industries. We know the importance of our rural communities. So for the entire country, I think we can safely say that the people who work and thrive in our natural resource industries, it can almost be said that they are carrying the country. They in effect, make our country what it is. Thank you very much.
Question et commentaire, l'honorable député de Brome-Missisquoi.
Oui, bonjour, Monsieur le Président. Comment le gouvernement répondra-t-il aux chefs de police honnêtes travaillants, officiers de police et autres intervenants de première ligne d'un bout à l'autre du pays, incluant les intervenants en protection de la jeunesse, les ambulanciers, les paramédicaux et les infirmières qui habitent la ville ou la campagne, qui affirment que le registre est utile dans le cadre de leurs fonctions ou rend leur environnement de travail plus sécuritaire. Merci.
The honourable member for Dauphin-Swan River Marquette.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I think my colleagues have gone a long way to answering that question, but I would like to quote the Minister of State for Small Business and Tourism, the member for Beauce, who said it very succinctly. It's very important to measure results, not intentions. I will grant that the members opposite in their desire to keep the long gun registry have good intentions. They actually care about public safety. What counts is results. And as one of my colleagues said, we have a number of police officers on this side of the House, and to a person, they say the long gun registry is useless to them. And all of us have had contact with police officers in the street, in their cars, and I make a point of asking them. I have not come across one frontline police officer who says the registry is of any use whatsoever.
Question et commentaire, l'honorable député de Bourassa.
Merci, M. le Président. M. le Président, c'est toujours évidemment difficile de discuter avec des gens qui pensent que ce qu'eux disent, c'est bon et c'est vrai, puis ce que les autres disent, c'est pas bon puis c'est pas vrai. Mais j'embarquerai pas dans l'idéologie. J'ai des amis chasseurs. On n'attaque pas les chasseurs. On parle de protéger la vie humaine en s'assurant que les armes soient enregistrées. Quand on se promène en voiture, on a une licence. Quand on s'en va à la chasse, quand on prend un bateau, on a une licence. Alors, c'est normal d'avoir une licence pour une arme à feu. Mais la question qui est encore plus grave, c'est que maintenant, j'entends déjà les déchiqueteuses. On a non seulement scrappé le registre des armes à feu, mais on veut aussi de déchiqueter et enrayer ce registre-là. Les gens du Québec la veulent. Le gouvernement du Québec veut avoir ces données pour partir leur propre registre. Pourquoi, s'il est si respectueux des gens, que les gens du Québec n'auraient pas le droit au respect pour que nous autres, au Québec, on soit capables de le faire, le registre, parce qu'en attendant la secte conservatrice, on va s'occuper de nos affaires au Québec.
The honourable member for Dauphin-Swan River Marquette.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. And as has been noted earlier, every province is free to create their own long gun registry. But in order to eliminate the long gun registry, which is nothing but information, the information itself has to go as well. So Quebec, if they want to spend the millions on an ineffective long gun registry, I suppose that is their right. Notice how the members opposite all never ever present any real evidence about the registry actually affecting crime rates. And as my colleague from Fundy, he made the point that if it was shown incontrovertibly that the registry worked, then I think people's views on this side might be different. There's not a shred of evidence that it works. We need results on crime control, not pious good intentions.
Questions and comments? The honourable member for Tobique-Mactaquac.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, and I want to thank my colleague from Dauphin-Swan River Marquette for his comments today. And he talked a lot about tradition in his riding. And my riding of Tobique-Mactaquac, we have a variety number of sports. We have farmers, and many of them use their long guns. Hunting is a way of life there. I've also had a chance to visit a number of ranges in my riding where people are taught to respect firearms and to use them safely and not be scared of them. Like I think a lot of fear-mongering that we should be scared of these. And now I think it's important that is one thing that we will be taking away, and one of the concerns that those people had was we're intruding on my ability to teach my kids the responsible use of firearms and to hunt and everything else. Can you comment on some of that tradition and why people feel so insulted by this existing law?
The honourable member for Dauphin-Swan River Marquette, a short answer, please.
And I know that others don't see the connection between hunting and firearms. To me, it's pretty obvious. If you take away the tool that you need to hunt, you actually kill hunting. In terms of the members' comments about the safety, do you realize there's three shotgun sports not related to hunting. There's trap shooting, skeet shooting, and sporting clays. They have been practiced for decades around the world. And because of the safe handling that my friend just talked about, there has not been one accident in those sports, despite the millions and millions and millions of shotgun shells that have been fired. That's a testament to responsible firearms ownership. Thank you.